So now that I've seen The Mandalorian and Grogu, I thought it was time for an updated rankings video. So in this one, all 12 live-action Star Wars movies rated from best to worst. Now, as I did when I ranked all of the TV shows after Andor Season 2 came to an end, I need to give two very important disclaimers. The first is quite simply that these are just my own personal opinions. I'm not trying to impose or dictate, and you'll find that your most hated Star Wars film is someone else's favourite, so feel free to share yours in the comments down below. And secondly, just as I'm sure yours do, my ratings do change quite a bit based on my mood. I'm only human, so sometimes Attack of the Clones is the ticket, other times it's Empire or Revenge of the Sith.
Hello there.
But I would say that my top 5 are pretty much set in stone at this point, but even then, the various Star Wars movies have spoken to me in different ways at different points in my life. But no more jibber jabber, let's go. And number 1, The Empire Strikes Back. And this might sound a bit cliche because so many fans put episode 5 first, but to me, it's not just the greatest Star Wars movie, but one of the greatest sequels in all of cinema, right up there with Aliens. But Empire is such a departure from A New Hope. It flipped Star Wars on its head. It was darker in tone, had more mysticism, focused on deep character development, and delivered one of cinema's greatest plot twists. It was also quite a rare movie for its time, in the sense that, at the end, the heroes lose. That wasn't something you saw every day back in the 80s. And as always with George Lucas, it contains so many important life lessons for kids. Notably that you're not always going to win. Even if your heart's in the right place, you have to combine your determination with hard work, training, and timing. Luke just wasn't ready to face Vader on his own yet. The entire original trilogy is just full of amazing wisdom. Same with the Yoda scenes on Dagobah. This film is jam-packed full of cool creatures, new planets, bounty hunters, and of course, an incredible cliffhanger. Moving on, my friends, and number 2, and again, I do alternate between episodes 3 and 4, but today, I'm gonna give it to episode 4, the classic 1977 Star Wars, later renamed A New Hope. I love everything about this film. The scale of it, the opening chase sequence, the hero's journey and Luke's first steps into a larger world, the cantina scene, the introduction of Han Solo, the Death Star trench run, and my personal favourite, the duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. People love to hate on it. They say it's slow and clunky. And of course the real life reason is because George Lucas had nothing to compare it to. This was the first OG lightsaber duel of the entire franchise. It was 2 decades before the release of the prequel trilogy, where the choreography for a more civilized age was far more intense. But there is of course an in-universe explanation. This is the first time the two characters faced each other since Revenge of the Sith, since the duel on Mustafar. Forget the Kenobi show for just a minute, I'm just talking about George's vision for 1 to 6. They're being far more calculated and protective. And also keep in mind that Obi-Wan wasn't necessarily trying to get into a sophisticated fight, he was just trying to buy everyone time to get back on the Falcon. He knows that Vader's hatred for him is so intense, there's no way he would let his former master live. Not to mention the fact he's surrounded by stormtroopers as well, so all he could do was give everyone time to get back on the ship. He glances over at Luke and allows himself to be struck down, thereby becoming a Force spirit. There would be no Star Wars universe without this first movie, my friends, so for me, it's always going to be in the top 3. Next up, Revenge of the Sith. I'm a massive prequel fan. I could go into so much depth about the Battle of Coruscant, the Battle of Kashyyyk, which I love, Order 66, an all-time classic, but I'm just going to focus on the one person who makes this movie as amazing as it is, Ian McDiarmid. He may have given one of the best performances of the entire saga. Palpatine really is the embodiment of pure evil, and the way he delivers his scenes in such a Shakespearean manner, how the shroud of the dark side begins to fall and he goes from this diplomatic senator who's a Sith in disguise to full-on mask-off, powerful Darth Sidious. I loved that as a kid, and I love it as an adult. Some highlights for me in terms of Ian McDiarmid's performance are the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, but I also love when he reveals himself to Anakin. Be careful of the Jedi, Anakin. Only through me can you achieve a power greater than any Jedi. Learn to know the dark side of the Force, and you'll be able to save your wife from certain death. Next up, my friends, and this is where we get into some controversial territory, I'm gonna give my number 4 spot to The Phantom Menace. And I know some people are waiting for Return of the Jedi. Some people have told me in the past, how could episode 6 not be higher on your list? If you're just talking about Anakin's redemption, it would be right up there with The Empire Strikes Back. But The Phantom Menace is a movie which I remember going to see as a kid, and maybe that's just nostalgia, but it means the world to me. Qui-Gon Jinn is one of my all-time favourite Star Wars characters, and you can't fault Duel of the Fates. And it's just an all-round, incredible fun movie. Then, at number 5, Return of the Jedi. Luke Skywalker rejecting the dark side, throwing his lightsaber down in front of the Emperor and saying, "I'm a Jedi, like my father before me." So much to love about this film, and as a kid, I love Jabba's palace. I love the weird and wonderful aliens, which as you're going to see is part of the reason I enjoyed The Mandalorian and Grogu. But next on the list is Attack of the Clones. This one always surprises people. A lot of sequel fans hate me for saying this, because they can't believe that episode 2 comes above any of 7, 8, and 9. But to me, it's integral to Anakin's story, as laid out by George Lucas. It's so darn underrated. Even though it's insanely cheesy at times and has really wooden dialogue, its themes, and the way it starts to build Anakin's turn to the dark side, are pretty darn incredible. And just like with The Phantom Menace, I was the target age when this film came out. Next up, Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. I think I've said everything I need to about this film. Later in the year I will be making a 10th anniversary special, but I love this movie, and not just for the Vader moment. And then next up, my friends, and this is what I think a lot of you wanted to know in this video, it's a tie between The Mandalorian and Grogu and 2018's Solo: A Star Wars Story. Honestly, I think maybe Solo gets the edge. Higher stakes, a wider legacy that's still being explored in more Shadow Lord, and overall a lot more cinematic, but I also very much enjoyed The Mandalorian and Grogu. So I think these two films in terms of my rankings are probably a bit interchangeable. It's going to be that thing of one day I'll tell you Mando, and another day I'll tell you Solo. But then finally, my bottom 3 spots, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. If you like the sequels, I'm not going to bash them, don't worry, but they're just not my Star Wars. I will say that they all have moments which I enjoy. In episode 7, the cliffhanger ending with Luke. In episode 8, Yoda's final lesson. The greatest teacher failure is. And in episode 9, this is again very controversial, I actually like Darkseid Rey, and the new book Secrets of the Sith gives us a new look at her. I would have loved if Rey turned to the dark side. I know I might be alone on this, but I much prefer Empress Palpatine to Jedi Rey Skywalker. But that, my friends, is my list. All 12 live-action Star Wars movies ranked from best to worst. What are your ratings? What are your rankings? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. And if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you always.